All right, guys, stand up.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go Birds.
I'll say that, had to.
All right, Mr. Sagarino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First agenda item, we have Deputy Chief Kirchner here for some promotions in the police department.
Good evening, everybody. First, I'd like to say, many of you know the chief couldn't be here tonight. He wanted me to send his apologies for not being here. As always, he doesn't miss too much, but this is beyond his control, so I'm here tonight. Mr. Sagarino, as we've spoken, we're looking to promote 2 detectives to sergeant tonight. The first candidate is Patrick Lyons. Patrick grew up in Burlington, graduated from Westfield State University in 2012 with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He then went on to the Laconia Police Department from 2013 to 2014. From there, he transferred to Boston University from 2014 to 2015. And then we were fortunate to have Patrick join us in 2015. During his time here, he started out as a patrolman. During that time, he was a field training officer. He was a traffic safety officer, and then he was a criminal detective. He, this past 2 years, he has stepped up for us and has been working as a youth service detective assigned to the high school. He's done a terrific job there. So without any other things going on here, I'm requesting that we promote Patrick Lyons to the rank of sergeant.
Thank you, Chief. With the Chief's recommendation, I wish to promote Patrick Lyons to the position of Sergeant in the Burlington Police Department and ask the board waive its 15-day waiting period.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0. Congratulations, Pat. Want to do the pictures?
Chief, you want to do a motion?
Yeah, whatever you want to do. Whatever. Yeah. We'll do the pictures right afterwards with both and their families.
We'll have some pictures.
Mr. Sagarino's second candidate putting forward for the rank of sergeant is Christopher Kelly. Chris grew up in Watertown, Mass. He graduated from UMass Lowell in 2012 with a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. He is currently working on his master's in public administration at the University of New Haven. Prior to working in Burlington, Chris was a police officer in Nantucket for 8 years. During his 8 years there, he was a patrolman for the first 5 years and then was a detective for the last 3. Again, we were fortunate enough to grab Chris in June of 2021, and he's been, since he's been here, he was a patrolman for his first 2.5 years. He was a field training officer. He was the assistant technology officer, and thank God he was a system administrator of Pro Phoenix, our new records management system, and he's been a huge help with that. And for the last year, he's been our technology detective. So he does a lot of stuff on the internet with internet crime and those things there. So without any further information with that, I'm asking that we request a promotion to rank of sergeant for Christopher Kelly.
Thank you, Chief. With the Chief's recommendation, I wish to promote Christopher Kelly to the position of Sergeant in the Burlington Police Department and ask that you waive your 15-day waiting period.
So moved. Second.
So moved and seconded. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0. Congratulations, Chris. So before we do the pictures, I'm just going to ask the board if they want any comments, because I know Jimmy worked with a lot of the guys, and if anybody wants to say anything before we get into the pictures with Bob. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I did work with Pat for a few years and known his capabilities and his enthusiasm. Pat actually had a very, very large case in organized retail crime that was international. that it was just an astounding me, the way he just kept going at it and accomplished a lot of work with that, and as well as other things. I have not worked with Sergeant Kelly, but from everything I've heard, we couldn't have two better choices for Sergeant. So congrats to both, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you around.
Sarah?
Nothing. Just echo everything that Jim said, so congratulations to you both.
Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations to you both. I had lunch with the chief last week, and he was very excited. He said it was a tough decision, and we're very fortunate here in Burlington to have one of the best police departments around. So I know you guys will keep adding right to that, and we're very thankful. So thank you, and congratulations.
Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I like to think that I have a somewhat unique perspective growing up in a law enforcement family, to have a slightly better understanding of what, the men and women of a police force go through on a day-to-day basis. I can't thank any of you enough for everything that you do for our community, number one. And, watching you both, work here in this community, seeing what you've done and the achievements that you've, gained thus far, we are beyond lucky to have you. So thank you both very, very much.
So real quick, I just want to say thank you, guys. You make the force a better place to be. There's no question about it. This force is becoming one of the top forces in the state of Massachusetts. There's no question in my mind. There is a thing this department doesn't have that they want, and it goes to show that, you got some people in the audience out there that used to be in the Burlington Police Department, came back just to be here for this small ceremony for you guys to get the sergeant. So thanks to the guys for being here, coming back and seeing this, and thank you very much. So there you go, boys. Get your families too.
No, this is selectmen. We're doing everything over there. So, Joe?
Why don't you get him right in there with them?
No, we're doing ours next door. Yeah, if you guys get in there.
I like the way you run my meeting.
No, we have, do a little ceremony.
Oh, we're gonna balance out, guys. Don't get tight. Hi. Yeah, you gotta squeeze in. Right there. There we go. Good. Sarah? Good.
Great.
Hold up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
You too, thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll just give it a second till the room.
98% of folks.
Yeah, we go back to nobody being here again.
Joe. Sarah's going to read it.
Sarah gonna read it? I'm not, I know that. Don't ever ask me. The answer will be no. See you, bud. Have a great night. Wow, after much for the room being packed. What?
A wider hallway. Oh,
Yeah, oh yeah.
you got plenty of doors, but not enough hallway space.
Just wait for Lynn to come back. Here we go. Okay, we're ready to go again. Number 20, Burlington.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I believe we have a proclamation for Woemande celebrating their anniversary.
Yes, we do, and I believe Sarah's gonna
Sarah, you gonna read that?
Sure. take care of that for
Do
us?
you want to bring them up?
Bring 'em up.
before I do
Oh,
that?
yeah. Where are they? We need more chairs?
Yeah, we do.
Just pull the chairs up, and that'd be great.
Yeah, pull a couple chairs up.
Good evening.
Evening.
We have a proclamation for you, so we'll read that first, and then we'll get into anything you'd like to say for us, all right? Sarah?
Thank you. So thank you all for being here. This is a proclamation from the Town of Burlington, Massachusetts Select Board for Women Whereas Women had an integral part in assisting Burlington as well as many communities since 2011, as their dedication to helping those in need was unstoppable, and for that we are extremely grateful. And whereas Women has helped the Town of Burlington in recognizing the value of acts of generosity by having events that are dedicated to individuals or families who are in need, organizing more than 75 fundraising events that resulted in raising over $325,000 and directly helping 267 local families. And whereas Women makes us believe that assisting our families and friends, we will be able to impact our community most effectively by continuing to maintain a generous and caring atmosphere for everyone. Whereas Women asks that individuals, committees, and businesses keep their generosity contagious, as their support is the foundation of a strong and caring community, and therefore, the Select Board of Burlington, on behalf of the town's residents, schools, and organizations, wish to thank and honor Burlington's Women for their accomplishments over the past 14 years and wish them well on their next chapter.
Thank you. Jimmy, comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You don't see that, sometimes you don't see what you do on a day-to-day basis. But then when you take a snapshot like that, and from beginning to end, $330,000, was it, that you've raised? 267 families? That's incredible. That's a great snapshot. Like I said, sometimes you just don't know, you don't realize or notice the things you do, might do one thing here and one thing here, but then you look at it in totality, you guys, girls have done an amazing job. So, well deserved, that's all I'm gonna say.
Thank you.
Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To quote everyone's favorite PBS host, Mr. Rogers, in times of crisis, look for the helpers, for they are the ones running towards the issues. And we are blessed to have so many people like yourselves in our community who do what you do and support and defend and protect. And to have that in this community speaks volumes, not just the type of community we are, but the type of people that you are. And so truly, as the proclamation said, we are eternally grateful for the work that you've done over the last 14 years. And I'm sure that you'll continue to do great work going forward in some way, shape, or form, because that just seems to be the type of people who you are, and that's wonderful, and we're lucky to have you. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And one of the great tenets in life is to leave things better than you found it. And I can't think of a better example than Women over the past 14 years. You guys have done amazing work for so many families in need. And I'd always be blown away every time I'd hear of some of the nice things that Women did for a family in need. Even one of my family members, which meant a lot to me. And the town is eternally grateful for all of you've done. And I'm sad that, you won't be continuing, but you've left a legacy that will never be forgotten. And Burlington's a special place, a town full of giving citizens, a town full of citizens that look out for each other. And Women epitomize that spirit. And we are so thankful for all of you and all of your efforts. So thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sarah?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for coming out tonight and for all of the time that you've taken over these years and the initiative that you've taken to give back to the community. I think the impact that an organization like Womenade has made, it speaks volumes about the power of women coming together for a cause, and how when we do, we focus on, relationships and collaboration and community-led solutions, and I think that's just what Womenade is all about. So, like Nick said, I know each of you will continue to give back because I just know that that's the kind of people you are, and I thank you all so much for the work that you've done with Womenade, and look forward to seeing what else you have in store.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I don't know what else to say. I mean, everything's kind of been said here, so that's why I let everyone else speak first. The words everyone used are actually incredible. What you've done is incredible. Kudos to you guys for doing what you've done in town. There's a million families to say thank you. So from the Board of Selectmen and the town of Burlington, thank you so much for what you've done. Thank you. Yeah, picture? Yeah, of course.
Whether you like it or not, I mean.
Get in again, so let's go.
Come on up, right up front.
I go down. Get me out of the way if you go.
Sorry.
Tell you what.
Let Evelyn come up and.
No, wait, I'm not, sorry. So it wasn't, I'm not in it.
It's just us.
You know I would laugh. So.
The first smell, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's more excellent than I had a month.
Everyone get their steps in? We're good?
Okay, where are we here? Mr. Sagarino, Scholarship Foundation. I believe Mr. Farron's here for that?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have Mr. Ferrin here with a request to use the town common banner sign on behalf of the Burlington Scholarship Foundation.
Yep. Oh,
Oh, good.
Mr. Farron, if you could just introduce yourself to the people on TV that are watching this. and-
Yes, thank you.
think
Thank you,
we-
Mr. Chairman. My name is Jack Ferrin. I'm the president of the Burlington Community Scholarship Foundation. This foundation was formed in 1988 by Joan Miles, Steve Miles, and Brian Curtin. Brian Curtin is still our treasurer. I'm happy to say, to date, we've awarded $12.6 million in scholarships to Burlington residents. You should know, and the public should know, that these awards go to Burlington residents that also go on to trade programs, apprentice programs for equipment, tools, and education, not just for college. Our mission is to raise a scholarship for every resident of Burlington. That's our goal. The situation we're in today is we were running a telethon that you are aware of, that we've done in the past, and with COVID, that has not come to fruition any longer. We're respectfully requesting permission from the Board of Selectmen to be able to display our banner on the Common for annual events, which generally happen once or twice a year. In front of you is an example of an upcoming trivia night that we're having. That's one event that we're having. And then we're doing an annual fundraising drive that we'd like to do called the Donor Drive. We will be utilizing the schools for signage, and we'll have a thermometer. What we're doing is we're trying to do an outreach to local businesses, alumni that have graduated. We're finding that as we are part of a national organization, the largest not-for-profit organization in the United States for scholarships, we're trying to find new and creative ways to raise funds. And we've come to the opinion that the best way to do this now is to tap into corporate America in a different form and fashion. And we believe that public awareness and tapping into past recipients will be the way of the future. I'm very proud to say we have a good board. They're enthusiastic. And we're very happy with the $12.6 million to date. But we just keep on keeping on, and we appreciate the support you've given us to date so far. And we welcome the public to look us up at any time and make a donation.
All right,
Thank you for your time, and we appreciate your consideration as well.
All right. Thank you, sir. Sarah?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for coming out tonight and for all the work you do for the Scholarship
Thank you.
Foundation. It's really phenomenal work, and to be able to give back to our Burlington students. I am generally in support of, our job is to basically approve whether to put a sign on the common. I'm generally in support of that. My only question is, and this is sort of like a board policy question, is the idea of having a QR code on a sign in that area. Generally, QR codes are beneficial in high pedestrian traffic areas, and that is a high pedestrian traffic area, but it's really more known for its vehicle traffic. And so, as we've been researching this electronic sign that's going to eventually go in that spot, one of the concerns that has come up repeatedly is, driver safety and distraction.
Makes sense.
So having a QR code where people are at a red light and popping out their phone to scan it doesn't sound like the best use of that spot.
So noted. That's a good
Whether
good
you've
point.
had set these to print or not?
No. This is
Okay.
all a draft for you to
Okay.
review, and I appreciate your input. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's my only thing. I mean, I'm fine with a link so that people know that there's something online that they can see,
Right.
but the actual QR code is the only thing I have an issue with. But other than that, it all looks good, and I see no reason why we shouldn't be able to get the word out about these events.
So noted. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, that's all. Mr.
Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, Jack, I can't commend you enough for the work that you do with this, truly. My only concern was the same as Sarah's, was the QR code. And then just to say, per Sergeant Bascaroon's, kind of guidelines, which is to make sure the font was fairly large. So like the little blue call out on the Trivia Night one might be too small, but I don't know how big that is when it's to scale. So, again, in an effort to reduce driver distractibility, things like that are the only things that we would make a recommendation on. Otherwise, I have no problem with it at all.
We can delete the QR. That's
Okay.
not a problem.
Awesome. That's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, again, thank you, Jack, for all you do with the Scholarship Foundation. It's a great thing and helps out a lot of families and helps a lot of students continue their education. Speaking as someone who received one many moons ago. Fully in favor of this, no problem. My only question for Lynn and Paul, does this, I know it doesn't conflict with the election, will this conflict with any other,
On top,
Put
put
the dates?
dates that are available.
oh, okay.
So you can make those the exact ones, you can shorten that, whatever you want to do, but that's what we have available for.
Oh, okay,
around
so we do have a
the-
calendar? Oh, awesome. And do those dates work for you, Jack?
Yeah, Lynn was kind enough to send me some dates, and, what we'd like to do is we're rotating right through the high school, and we'll keep the lawn signs up for a period of time, put them away for a while, then come back, and then we'll come back and ask permission again if we need to put the signs and the banners back up again. One thing I did leave out while the public is watching, we also have an adult program too, by the way, for those who go back to school to finish a degree or start another degree.
Nice.
And that's another program that we started a few years ago. We're finding more and more adults are going back to school. In fact, I'm one of them. I'm still in school.
Always learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the dates work for everybody, I have no issue, Mr. Chairman. I'm fully in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jack.
Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the snapshot reference again. Womenade was $330,000. $12.6 million is amazing. Do you happen to know how many scholarships the number of scholarships that have been given out in that time?
No, I'll tell you why, Jim. So here's how the buckets work. We call it the buckets, right? We have corporate donations. We have the Adopt a Class program. Adopt a Class is where a business, a club, or an organization will sponsor a class all 13 years the students are in school. So they help raise money, and that Adopt a Class award is for community service to the community and their school. Then we have private donors like myself, the Ferrin Memorial in memory of. And then we have alumni that give back, right, graduating classes. And then we also have private donors who donate. So it's a combination that began years ago at Tom and Briglio at Burlington High School. And then we came together as one to maximize our efficiencies, in particular with the 501c3E, not-for-profit, and maximizing our money in the endowment fund for our investments. I only have the estimated dollar value. We don't have the actual number because they didn't have the records going back that far. But Joe Adubato has done a fabulous job for us at the high school. And Teresa Kavanaugh, who is with the guidance office. And of course, you all know Deb Keene, who worked here at Town Hall. She's our assistant to the board, and our founder of the organization, Brian Curtin, is still very active. It's never ending. We're always raising dollars for scholars. That's what we do.
So I'm just gonna put this out there. I assume the number of scholarships you've given out is just as astounding as the total amount of 12.6 million. But great job, keep it up, and I'd like to see that thermometer go all the way up to red.
Thank you very much.
All set?
Thank you. Well, I think that it's a great idea. I think what Sarah said about the Q codes is, could be tough out there to have someone taking a picture of it, so you already said you got to strike that out.
Go on.
Both of them, that's easy. The question I have is on the Burlington Common Scholarship Foundation one with the thermometer. Is that going to be something where you go out there and paint it every time you think it's a little bit more than what it is, or is it going to be, what's going to happen with that?
So what we're going to do, Mr. Chairman, is where it says goal,
Yeah.
we're going to put our goal there.
Yeah.
We're going to actually have a thermometer at the high school.
Okay,
That's going to be filled in. We're not going to change this, no.
Okay.
And I know that Recreation Maintenance is responsible for this.
Right.
They're not going to want to do that. We don't want to do it. We just want, what we want is consistency. So when you drive by, you see the thermometer, then you see the thermometer on the lawn sign and on the banner.
okay. So the one on the banner on the Common, the thermometer is only going to be that bottom circle painted red? Or is it going to be painted red all the way to the top when you first put it up?
It's going to be at the bottom.
It's going to be at the bottom.
And up top, right now, the goal from the last meeting, Mr. Chairman, our goal is $200,000.
Okay, so what I'm getting at is this. If the thermometer's up there, and I didn't know which way you were going to go with it, was going to be all the way to the top, people drive by and they see it all the way to the top, they're like, oh, it's already there. That's a
Right.
great thing. So if they see it down the bottom and they don't realize that it's still halfway up or wherever it is, then they might stop and donate and call, or whatever website's on there, that they can go to the website.
Right.
So I didn't know which way you were going to do that, and that's what I was looking for. So that the people understand that are watching this, understand that that goal has to be reached all the way to the top. That's what
Correct.
we're looking for, right?
And the only sign that will be changed will be the one that's the actual thermometer that's going on a sheet of plywood, all printed
Okay.
at the high school.
At the high school, okay, fantastic. Okay, I think all the questions were answered. Mr. Segarino, anything else on this? Any comments? I have nothing, okay. So now I'll take a motion for it, please.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve both the Burlington Community Scholarship Foundation sign for February 24th through March 8th, and the Burlington Community Scholarship Foundation sign from April 7th through the 18th.
Second.
Motion made and second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Much
Thanks, Jack.
appreciated. Thank you.
See you, Jack.
All right, government review, Mr. Segarino.
Mr. Chairman, I would just make a suggestion. We have, looks like we have some folks waiting for citizens' time as well as special park. I don't know if you want to take these out of order, and then we could spend a little bit of time on the government review item without making anybody wait.
Okay, that's fine with me. All right, so we'll skip over to, we'll go right to citizens' time then. Citizens' time. Anybody in the room would like to speak on citizens' time? Yes. Come right up here, please. Thank you. Let me explain to you how citizens' times work. Have a seat. There you go. Thank you. So citizens' time here at the Board of Selectmen, you have 3 minutes, and there are no comments from the Select Board after it's over with. So you have 3 minutes, and just introduce yourself, and you got 3 minutes.
Okay.
Sign in? Yeah, you need to sign in the paperwork. I didn't see that sitting there, that's why I didn't say anything. Okay, just introduce yourself and
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Mei Chen. I reside in 310 Farms Drive at Burlington. I'm a practitioner of Falun Gong, a Buddhist spiritual practice that's guided under the principles of truthfulness, compassion, and forbearance. By 1999, the Chinese government saw the practice as a threat to its political power and therefore labeled Falun Gong as an evil cult and started a national campaign against Falun Gong. Since then, Falun Gong practitioners have been persecuted. The persecution includes detention, brainwashing, labor camps, torture, and even organ harvesting from living practitioners. My family was impacted under this persecution when I was in high school. My mother was arrested and forced to quit her job, and then my family was monitored by the local police. Many of our fellow practitioners were detained, sentenced, tortured, simply because of our faith. We immigrated to the U.S. to escape persecution in China, and we are grateful to freely practice our beliefs today. In my free time, I have become a volunteer to promote Shenyun Performing Arts, which was founded by Falun Gong practitioners in 2006 with a mission to revive China's 5,000-year-old divinely inspired traditional culture. Every year at the Burlington Mall, you can see a Shenyun booth where people can get the tickets to Shenyun. Among the Shenyun artists are some of the practitioners who were persecuted while in China. The performance also tries to bring attention to the ongoing persecution of Falun Gong, which is a part of our peaceful efforts to resist the persecution. However, in the last 6 months, the Chinese Communist regime has escalated tremendously the persecution of Falun Gong and Shenyun on U.S. soil with bomb threats and other threats of violence. For example, during Shenyun's tour last year, bomb threats were made in 3 different countries in just 1 week. According to the leaked CCP documents, congressional testimonies from the former Chinese diplomats, and third-party investigations, the CCP has enacted operations around the world to silence, marginalize, and suppress Falun Gong. Today, the CCP's transnational repression strategies include social media trolling, lawfare, media manipulation, co-opting the government, and impersonating practitioners in order to make false and damaging claims. Last week, I was working at the Shenyun booth at the mall, and a lady came up to me and said, "I heard people there were treated badly, and I will never go watch the show." I feel very heavy-hearted that innocent people were misinformed by the untruthful media reports. While if you have a little more patience, additional research have already confirmed.
Excuse me, that's 3 minutes. So you've got in a little bit of what you wanted to say. That's all the time we give everybody. So we'll take into consideration what you said and try to figure out what we need to talk to you about, okay?
Thank
So,
you.
we're
Is
good.
that all for us as a group?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm
Thank
sorry.
you for giving us this
That's what we do.
opportunity.
So that's how we run this, all right?
Okay.
So thank you very much for your time. Truly appreciate it. And have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so you want to go to the sculpture park, Paul, and then we'll go back to our...
Sure.
Okay.
No more citizens.
Oh, no, yeah, there's no one else here for citizens' time? No one online? Girls? No one online? Okay. So we're going to go back to discussion approval for sculpture park committee. Okay, here we go.
Jeez, I'm balding.
You can see the back.
Thank you. While John pulls up the presentation, I'd just like to introduce myself. I am Barbara LaRue. I am the current chair of the Public Arts Committee, and that was formerly the Sculpture Park. We recently changed our name to reflect our broader view. Also with me are two committee members. On my left is Bob Buckley, and to his left is Mike Wick from the library.
Yeah.
I also just passed out to you a letter from Marianne Pereira, who I think you all are familiar with. She's the director of Echo Enrichment, and she actually just sent this to me today and asked me to share it with you. And I can read it into the record if you like, or if you, okay.
No, does anybody need to have her read this, or you've already read it, or reading it now? Why don't you just go ahead with what you're looking to do here, and
Okay.
we'll get it up here.
I think it's almost up. Is that it? Does it get bigger, or is that it? Okay. All right. So I introduced myself. We have three members of the committee here, but one of the things I wanted to point out about this committee is that it really is very unique in Burlington because it includes people across the board, across all different departments, and I think that has given us a really great broad view of the company. Can you switch? Yeah. So we have members from Select Board, Planning Board, Recreation, Schools, Library, Town Meeting, and we have a representative from the business community. The committee has been meeting since 2018, and we had our first installation at the Sculpture Park in the summer of 2020 at the height of the pandemic. This past summer, in July of 2024, we had our third installation at the park. So over the last 5 years or so, we have hosted 21 works of art at the park. We currently have 11 pieces out there, not including the 3 sculptural benches, and 6 of those are owned by the town. 3 of them were purchased by the Sculpture Park Committee, and 3 of them were donated through negotiations between the Sculpture Park Committee and the artists. We also have 5 leased sculptures currently on site. So a lot of people ask me and they ask other members of the committee frequently why we're doing this. Why do people care about public art? What's important about public art? So I started to do a little research, and this is a survey from the Americans for the Arts. And it really does show that there's a huge economic and social impact on communities when they support public art. And this was easier to read when it was in front of me. I'm going to need glasses. So 86%, thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, John. 86% of the people surveyed believe that arts and culture are important to their community's quality of life and livability. 89% of people said the activity or event that they attended was a source of neighborhood pride. And 86% of them said that they would feel a sense of loss if the activity or venue that they had attended was no longer available. And we see that here in Burlington. We see that there's a connection between the artwork and the residents. People enjoy it. They go there, they sit and contemplate, they interact with the art, and it's become important to them. In fact, at the most recent Civics Expo, we asked the people that attended, what was it that they liked the most about the Sculpture Park? And honestly, I was surprised by their answer because I expected them to say the free events, because we have events and it's free and people get food and there's something for their kids to do and it's free. I figured that would be the answer, but it wasn't. The answer was the art itself. Most people said the most important thing for them was just being able to experience the art itself. And I thought that was really important to share. But art also has an economic impact on communities. According to the survey that I referenced, 79% of people believe that arts and culture are important to their community's businesses, economy, and local jobs. And my fellow committee member, Bob Buckley, is our business representative on the committee, so I'm going to hand it over to him now.
Thank you, Barbara.
For the record, Robert Buckley, I guess, Freeman Bronstein. You're talking to someone who can't draw a straight line. I can't, but I do love art, and if you've been to my office, I think you can see my office, and it's a very interesting expose of various eclectic collections. Surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, a number of our clients, one of the first things that they comment on when they come to Burlington is how distinct it is, how the sculpture park has been a unique attraction to the point where we have a number of clients. One client in particular has signed a contract to every year add a major piece of art to their campus and to create an environment where their employees have some recreational trails, but also the ability to sit and enjoy the surroundings. If you go to other communities, I've done a fair amount of work in Marlborough, for instance, and up on the North Shore. Everyone wants to know, how do you activate a community? And one of the ways is through public art. Clearly, I mean, I live downtown Boston. The Rose Kennedy Greenway is a very exciting place, particularly in the summer, not so much in the winter, but in the summer it's to see people enjoying the art. It makes Burlington distinct, and in today's world, anything you can do to make yourself distinct and not cut a run of the mill is a very beneficial attribute for attracting and retaining what fuels the economy, which is good talent. So, you know, I got involved with this through the Master Plan Committee. I was the business representative on it, and I heard a lot of feedback that the town needed something of this character. So we've mobilized on a number of different efforts during this to raise money, and substantial money has been contributed by the business community to make this a reality. We'd love to see it continue because it is an attractive addition to town. And one little example I can give you, R.J. Kelly, if you go up on South Bedford Street, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
During last summer when they had the pigs on the common, a number of the businesses retained professional artists to decorate their pigs. They put theirs out in the front of their building on the lawn there, and I drive by it every morning. And first of all, I think it's very lonely, but I do think it's an attestation by them that this has importance, and they're proud of what they did, and they're proud to show it off. And a little bit of that pride is worth it. You know, in the past, we always contribute to things like rings for the hockey team. For those who don't know, I made the classic mistake of my life on that when I offered to buy the rings when I won the championship, and being verbose, I said, "Oh, if you do it again next year, we'll buy them again." Guess what? They did it. But the character of the town, I think, is enhanced with these types of efforts. And clearly, you have some cachet with your location and the businesses that are here, but the employees want it, and the talent that is attracted here and that wants to live here, they want to have a diversity of experiences, and this is one of them. So we're verbose.
Great.
Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
Mike, did you want to add?
I don't know if I can pull this any further towards me. Okay, thanks. Michael Wick, Library Director. I just wanted to speak about how the library has worked with the Sculpture Park Committee and, you know, the different artists that have displayed. We do a lot of cultural programming at the library, and so this is a wonderful dovetail that we have in town, and I think it's a very important aspect of our town that other towns don't have. You know, my wife is an art teacher, and every time there's a new display that we have in the Sculpture Park, make sure that we come down to Burlington and check it out, take a walk around, go out, enjoy some lunch. And I think that that's something that happens with a lot of people, and it draws a lot of attention in that respect. But specifically for the library, what we're able to do is find new avenues of programming, reach out to new individuals in town who maybe aren't familiar with our library programs. So for example, you know, we've been able to work with the Sculpture Park Committee prior to for some of their programming that they have in the park itself, but we've also been looking forward to doing program inside the library. Dovetailing with this Sculpture Park event, we would have a group of artists who'd be speaking, talking about their art in general, and then have a walk over to the Sculpture Park after that, where the artists can talk about their sculptures in particular. So I think that this has just been a wonderful aspect of culture and, the kind of things that we can do in Burlington that are unique to our community. And being a library director, I really enjoy the opportunity to work with a community like this or work with a committee like this as well.
Thank you, Mike.
Okay.
No, we're not done.
You're not done?
So we're not done.
Okay.
So this next slide is to just demonstrate, I told you there were 6 sculptures that the town now owns. As you all know, back in 2021, town meeting granted $20,000 to the Sculpture Park Committee, and some of that money was used to purchase a sculpture, and I mentioned that some of the other ones were purchased by the committee and some were negotiated. The total value of the sculptures that are out there right now is over $123,000. So for our very relatively small investment of $20,000, it really has had an amazing return on investment. These are the 5 sculptures that are out there right now that are leased, and they will be there until 2026. So why are we here tonight? We're here because, as you all know, we're getting a new police station, which is wonderful. But the sculptures will be in the way. They need to move out of the way for the duration of the construction. They wouldn't be safe, and they would be in the way of the construction. So they need to be moved, and that's probably going to happen sometime around, I understand, the 3rd quarter of this year. So we are seeking a 2-year temporary location for the 9 sculptures that are currently existing in the park. This does not include the sculptural benches. I'm going to have to deal with them separately because they're much harder to move, and I'll be working with the construction team. We're hoping that we might only have to move one of them because of the placement of the other 2. So we'll have to deal with those separately. I may have to come back to you at some point to discuss the benches, but that's not for today. So last year, about a year ago, I came before this board and asked permission for the Pigs on Parade project on the Common, and I was very happy and grateful to receive your unanimous support. As I told you then, there were multiple goals for that project. One was that it was a fundraiser for the Sculpture Park. Another goal was just to create a fun, exciting experience over the summer for the residents of Burlington. And the third reason was, as I told you then, it was a test. It was a test to see if we could move sculptures to the Common, because we knew that the police station project was coming. We wanted to know if the Common could accommodate that many sculptures, if the maintenance teams would be able to work around them without causing too much difficulty. And also, we just wanted to find out, does the community like having sculptures on the Common? So these were the goals of that project, and the answer is a resounding yes. The Pigs on Parade project was extremely successful. It did raise some money, didn't raise as much as we had hoped, but the amount of community engagement that occurred cannot be denied. We had about 500 people at our opening event, about half that many at our closing event, but the best part was that throughout the summer, every time I drove by, unless the weather was really bad, there were people on the Common. There were grandparents walking around with grandchildren. There were parents and children. There were people posing their dogs in front of the sculptures. It enlivened the Common in a way that I've never seen before. So it was a big success, and we can conclude from this that there's room on the Common for sculptures. There were 16 pig sculptures on the Common in 13 locations. So there's plenty of room for 9 sculptures. The public loved the exhibit. They loved having the sculptures there, and engagement at the Common was vastly increased than it's ever been before. And one other thing that we hadn't really thought about or expected is that the existence of the sculptures actually enhanced and enlivened other events. We saw people who attended concerts on the Common, and they were listening to the music, but they also wandered over and were interacting with the sculptures. So the two things were very complementary. So we have a couple of options for you to consider for placing the sculptures temporarily during the police station construction. This is the first one. As you can see, It has 4 sculptures on the Common, 2 on Cambridge side, and 2 on the Center Street side, and then 5 sculptures across the street in front of the municipal buildings, so across on this side of the street where we are. That was option 1. Option 2 actually is very similar to where the pigs were. These are the pig locations that we could put the 9 sculptures there. We removed the locations that were interior to the Common. There were 4 additional locations that were inside the Common, and we took those away because we just thought it would be easier for maintenance staff, and they'd be more visible. One of the reasons that we feel very strongly that the sculptures should be in one of these 2 locations is because we want more visibility. The sculpture park is this wonderful jewel, but a lot of people in town don't actually know about it still. I'm always surprised when I meet people that don't know we have a sculpture park, because it's tucked away. But every single person I talked to knew about the pigs on parade. Everybody saw it, everybody loved it, and they knew it was there. If we are able to show these sculptures for 2 years or however long the construction is on the Common, it will bring attention to the sculpture park project. Everyone will know about it and will know where they are. So that's why we think it's really important to move the sculptures to a more prominent location than where they are now. We have worked with the Recreation Department. We showed these 2 options to the Recreation Department to get their feedback. They preferred option 2 because they said it would allow for greater maneuverability of their machines around the sculptures. Brenda did request that we do a walkthrough with him to confirm the locations. He has to think about things like Celebrate Burlington, and he has some new benches and trees that he needs to install. That's how we place the pigs, so we have no problem with that. It wasn't a problem last year during Celebrate Burlington, and these are actually fewer sculptures, so we don't anticipate any problems. But we will work with Brendan. We'll go out to the site. We mark it with paint on the grass so we know exactly where he wants them, and that would be where we place the sculptures. So, to conclude, we are seeking your permission to relocate 9 sculptures to the Common, as shown in option 2, and in coordination with the Recreation Department. So I'm going to leave up option 2, and we're ready to take your questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Sarah?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you all for coming out tonight. I love the name change. I think it's great to sort of open it up beyond the sculpture park and see what else we can do. And I just really appreciate all the work that you're doing to promote art and culture in town and have it be accessible to everyone. You don't have to buy a museum ticket to see it. It's there for everybody in town to enjoy. So thank you for that. I mean, I'm generally in favor of this, and option 2, I agree with Brendan, would be the best. I think that, like you said, the experiment of the pigs showed that the sculptures weren't only not a problem, they really enhanced the space. So they brought people, like you said, to areas of the Common that they don't typically go to. As somebody who works in Town Hall right there and has a direct view to the Common, like you said, I would see people out there all day. It was the summertime, everybody was out there enjoying it, but in areas of the Common that they wouldn't usually stroll over to. So just as a sort of personal anecdote, last summer I visited the Berkshires and I went to the Edith Wharton House. And there's about a quarter mile, maybe a half mile walk from the parking lot to the house. And it's beautiful gardens and woods and pathways, and all along the way there are sculptures. And it's beautiful, and it doesn't take away from the green space and the nature. It gives another dimension, another layer, and another way to enjoy the walk to that. So I feel like that's the same in this space. So I understand that some folks in town are very protective of the Common. It's our green space, and it's actually, it's sort of we're the envy of a lot of towns for that space. And so for that people might want to keep it that way. I feel like, if there was some sort of backlash to this idea, we would have heard it over the summer with the pigs, and I didn't hear any sort of, anger or, there was a little, controversy with the name, but whatever, that was kind of sort of miscommunication. But, so I don't suspect that there will be that here. So, so that's my feeling. I'm supportive of this, of option 2. I did just have a question about the bases.
Yes.
And so where they are now in the sculpture park, they're concrete, they're very sturdy. What are you proposing for this?
We actually have been talking with some of the artists who have clued us in that we don't have to pour concrete bases every time we do this, that we can actually purchase them already done, and then they would sit down, so they would look very similar to what's there now, but they would be just less expensive to install that way. But they would be on a concrete base so that they're safe and sturdy, and also so it makes it much easier for them to maintain the grass around.
Okay, and the concrete just sits there, like sits on top of that grass?
Well,
Drop it down a couple
Yeah.
inches.
Okay.
yes. And that is something, when we knew this was happening, so we actually worked together with administration, and there is actually cost built into the police station project to handle the moving of the sculptures. So there shouldn't be any additional cost to the town. It's built into that project.
Okay. And then the only other concern, and maybe Paul, you can ease my mind on this, but there's one of the red dots on the corner of Bedford and Cambridge that is pretty close to where right now there are two white poles that we have a sign on the corner.
Oh, yes.
There's going to be a new electronic sign installed in that area with some like landscaping around it. And so my only concern would be that one might be affected by that
Oh, okay.
process. I don't know if there's another spot that one could go.
Well, we would be very happy to move it. We can go out there with Brendan, and he'll tell us where the best spot is.
And also to choose the right sculpture for that location.
Right, yes. So we can choose a smaller sculpture perhaps that doesn't intrude upon, but we wouldn't want it to be too close to the sign anyway.
Right, I wouldn't want you to like put it there and then have to move it again.
Oh, yeah.
When the sign, there's construction
Right.
and that kind of thing. So that's the only thing. Other than that, I'm in support of this, and thank you for coming out.
Thank you.
Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for coming out, as Sarah said. I'm a big fan of the sculpture park and what's been done there. And I think our initial $20,000 investment has more than paid itself in dividends. I wasn't a fan of the pigs at first, and I grew on them, and they grew on me. I didn't grow on them. They grew on me, and it was a good thing for the town. That being said, I'm not a fan of either option here, especially option 2. I heard feedback against putting stuff on the common. Some people are very protective of our common and want to keep it the same and keep it as a kind of sacred space. And with the pigs, the difference was that was a few months. We're talking a few years here. And then I guess deciding what's going to happen afterwards. My question is, did we look at any other options other than these two? I mean, I'm not a fan of 2 at all. One, I'll deal with, but I mean, did we look at any other options, like in front of 61 Center or anywhere else that we could put these?
We actually did pose this question to the public at the Civics Expo in 2024. And the 2 options that were most favored were on the common, as in option 2. The other one suggested was to have a sculpture walk that started in front of the Human Services Building and went all the way down Center Street toward the fire station. So option 1 is sort of a hybrid of those 2. That's where that came from. We were told by Jim, who's on our committee, that some people had suggested 61 Center Street, and it is not the preference of the Public Arts Committee for the simple reason that it's even more out of the way. The sculpture park is this bright little light, and we don't want to hide it anymore. We want to let it shine. We want it to be prominent, and we want everyone to see it. And so if we stick it on 61 Center Street, will they fit? Yeah, they'll fit. But it's not, I don't think it's a better location, and it certainly is a less prominent location. It's kind of hiding its light under a bushel.
Okay. One of the things that's great about I guess I'll agree to disagree, it's called Center Street for a reason, because it is in the center of town. But one of the things I like about the sculpture park now is they're all together in one area, and we have there's an area for it. Putting them there, we would also have an area where they'd be all together, and just a personal preference, just my thoughts.
I understand.
And again, I don't think you lose a little bit. You're not in the right center with the common, but it is called Center Street. That's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jim, you're on the board, so.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sculptures, and for the most part, public art, they're not for everyone. Not everybody is into sculptures and public art. But then again, not everybody plays baseball. So we have the fields for baseball. We have sculptures and public art for people who appreciate public art. I've gone to the private sculpture park in Acton, I think it is, which is an amazing place. It's huge. And that was the first time I was exposed to sculptures. That being said, with the two options that are being presented, if the rec department prefers option 2, I was leaning that way as well. And the reason I was leaning that way is option 2 keeps everybody on the common and no crossing the street. It's a safety thing with me. And that was the reason why I was a little skeptical about the dog going on the common and everything else being across the street was a safety issue. But when we think about the name change of the committee, now the Public Arts Committee, the fact that Melissa got that grant with the mobile art studio, I think that's a great way to dovetail off the sculpture park into into public art. And it seems to be a trend that we don't have a lot of public art. And I remember, Mr. Buckley, at one of your presentations, I forget what it was, a couple of years ago, when you said businesses are starting to look for cultural, positive cultural assets in the town. Yeah. And that stuck with me, that we've, I didn't know the first thing about sculptures. But after seeing them in Acton and then by default getting on the committee, thanks, Dick.
You're welcome.
It's really opened my eyes up. But again, like I said, it's not for everybody, but it is for some people. Rec department prefers option 2. I, with my safety mind sense, would prefer option 2. The mobile art studio, or whatever we call that, again, I just think that's all coming together for a reason. So I'm okay with option 2 as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I just kind of want to take it back to the presentation for a moment, because, I think that it's great what this committee's been doing, right? I've been such a huge proponent of the diversification of opportunity in this community. And when we look at the mural down, by the Lockett Park, right? I say to myself, look at all the wonderful, famous people who have roots in Burlington, right? And how, being able to share with, not just our residents, but with the kids, that they get to see art in their community in a couple different ways, shape, and form, and then they see people go on to do these wonderful things, right? Whether it be sports like the Pandolfos or entertainment like Amy Poehler, right? I mean, we can be as far-reaching as we want to be, and I think that's such a wonderful thing. And I've been talking a lot with folks about the dying notion of the third place, right? We have home, we have work, and then what's this third thing? And, we're so individualized as a society that to have things like this gives people a place to go, to experience it, right? And show the vibrancy of the community a lot of different ways, right? From sculptures to murals to, what we're gonna talk about later with the, electrical boxes, right? Like, there's a lot of opportunity here. And, to be able to say that we're the first once again at something, right? Which, I mean, technically, we're not even the first, right? But, to put our best foot forward, I think is an opportunity that we shouldn't pass up. To get to the specific options, I had the same concern that Sarah did around the location of the one closest to the corner sign, given the construction that's gonna happen there. I was curious to get your all thoughts on, well, what if we left 5 and put 4 at 61? Because my thought was, for the same reason that, we have the dog on the Common and the Sculpture Park across the street, we create a little bit more longevity across Center Street for folks to experience. Plus, I'm always at 61 for a rec with my kids, right? We've got the senior center, we've got folks who live there. It's just an opportunity to kind of pluck some sculptures and try it at a different location for a couple of years, while we also have stuff on the Common, which I think is important, because Barbara, I think you're right. I think having stuff along Cambridge Street and along Bedford Street is important for visibility, right? There was a ton of conversation about the pigs, right? Did you see the pig? Oh my gosh, it's right there on the, I drive by it every day, right? I think that, we have the opportunity to kind of do a little balloon test on the full sculpture park in this way to see what that kind of brings. But the density felt like a lot, 9 on the Common felt like a lot. And so I was curious to get your thoughts and even the board's thoughts on if we did 5 kind of on that L shape, right? And then 4 over on 61.
Through the chair, I will tell you, it never occurred to me, so I'm just giving you a quick reaction.
Yeah.
I don't hate the idea. I'm not sure that it would work as well, because having the 9 sculptures on the Common, I think, is sort of more cohesive. And I think when you separate them out, it might be a little difficult, and people aren't going to know, because there's no signage to show them, oh, go down there, there's more. So it might be good for certain residents that go to both places. I don't know if there'd be enough connection. That's what would worry me.
Yeah.
I also think, I want to remind everyone that there were 16 pig sculptures, and we're talking about 9. So there is less, there's fewer sculptures than we had over the summer, and it was not cluttered. There was plenty of space. In fact, one of the nice things about it is seeing children run from one sculpture to the next one, and they could get a good running start there. They could get a good head of steam going because there was space between. So it would still be my preference to keep them on the Common for the visibility, and also I think it's better to keep them together, although not clumped. But I'm open to other suggestions as well.
Yeah, I think, just to kind of build on that, I would say, I'm sure we could, Mr. Sachs is great at putting together, maps and information for folks. We could put something on the town website, and make sure we direct folks there so they know where all the sculptures are. It'll allow us to identify where the pigs are, right, the schools or whatever, and, kind of even build out the notion of the number of sculptures across the community. I mean, from a walkability standpoint, it's not going to work, right, because the construction of the police station is going to be right there.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
From a spread across the community perspective, right, we would have the opportunity to have, I guess, more coverage, right? Because I think of it this way, right? You mentioned it almost in passing, and I don't want to play it down. 500 people at the opening event for the pigs, right? That's a quarter of the people who come out to vote every year. The 500 people is a lot of friggin' people.
Yeah.
Right? So, I think there are even more people who are experiencing this than we're even able to count. And to be able to spread it out and give it more visibility, right? Not just for people driving up and down 3A, because the ones along Center Street between us and the Common, right, are only really going to be for people who are on the Common, people walking, to and fro. So it's kind of an opportunity to push it down to a place where you've got families and you've got seniors in and out all the time. So again, I want to put it up for consideration, because I think that would kind of open it up a little bit.
Right. May I?
Mr. Chair.
Yeah. I was going to say, can my other committee members weigh in, because we haven't given that thought.
It's not a bad idea. I mean, I think in my mind, and I probably won't be around to see it, but in my mind, I see this as becoming a vibrant, connective course or path, or whatever you want to call it. Who was talking about out in the Berkshires where, where you saw that. I mean, there's a reason why college campuses have public art throughout the campus, that people have something to look at as they're walking around a campus and doing things. And I think, putting a couple down there, and I think 4 clutters it, because it takes massing out of it in an area which is going to be difficult to get to, but you do have seniors, and you have the Grand View, and you have events going on at the tavern, and maybe that sparks some discussion. So it's something to consider. And it'll be interesting to see after a year or two whether this is really attractive. I mean, what you're witnessing now in the last 5 or 6 years, it's a movement from the inside to the out. If you've ever gone into what Burlington in the past prided itself on Class A office space, a lot of the businesses inside invested a lot of money on office art. I mean, I can tell you, because I was on the committee, and how much you spend to decorate an office with art, public art. You commissioned artists to do whatever. And now there's a movement to go outside because people want to be able to walk. Maybe you just drive around town at lunch hour and go down to 3rd Avenue and that whole area. People are out walking and enjoying what's around. So you're moving outside. So to provide an amenity outside, and let's see if people follow and are pulled from the senior center. Clearly, you have a captive audience there. So you might say, okay, that provides an amenity for the residents and the participants in events there. And then it morphs or pulls you to the common. And the location on the common, where the bulk of the sculptures are being located, all that's across from the post office, right? And
Yes.
yeah, in those areas, which are really not interfering with activities on the common, but they provide someone with an opportunity to sit under the trees and look at them. The thing that I think is the most disturbing of this whole thing is those, if you haven't been out to see those benches are spectacular. And the way they did them, and they were done by a sculptor on the place. They had the students from the school there to show how math was going into how they're cutting the stones and everything. It really was an educational experience. They're gorgeous. So unfortunately, I don't know if we're going to be able to move them, but to me, that's...
Probably just one of them. Because two of them are placed far enough away that we are hopeful that they can stay in place.
Sure.
And then one of them is probably too close to the construction.
But I do hope that the board thinks seriously about, it is an experiment, and, it is an asset for the town, the common, but a lot of thought has been put into the location of the potential sculptures, and we always have the ability to rethink it, as time goes on. And, I mean, it's where you want people to congregate. It's a natural congregation of people. I mean, you go to towns like Newburyport or places, you bring people down and you have the public art, you do the river walk, and it's where people want to mull around and interact. Versus, I do think over time you're probably going to have different locations. As I said, I have clients that have committed to spend north of 20 or 30 grand a year to put a piece every year, and I've already signed a long-term contract to do that. So they see the value of it, and I think the town should be on the same par as that to say, we see the value of this asset, and it's not, we're not creating something that if it doesn't work, you say, oh my God, what do we do now? You have options. It's not a major, it's an experiment. And so far, the experiment, on balance, has been a positive experience. So all I'm saying is, let's try to continue it. But it's, I don't live here, I enjoy it, but it's your call.
That's all from me, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, all right, okay. So, listening to everything I heard so far tonight, I'm not ready to vote on this at all tonight. Say it straight right now. I'd like to talk to Brendan. I'd like to go over that walkthrough before we approve anything on where the trees are going to be, where the benches are going to be, whether or not we go for option 1, option 2, or 61 Center Street, whatever that's going to be. I think, personally, I agree with Mike Espejo. I think that there's a lot of people out there that do love the sculpture part, and there's a lot of people that think that Common is not for the sculpture park whatsoever. I've gotten both sides of that story. Some people love to walk around, and some people think the sculptures are great, but not on the Common. So I've heard everything. So personally, until I think that the trees, the benches, what's the time frame on this? When are they going to start breaking ground for the actual police station, or when do we have to have these moved by?
I did actually call and speak with the police chief's administrative assistant, because I'm on the Police Building Committee. And we're having another meeting in March, but the idea or the plan is for construction, or rather demolition, to start in July or August. So we would need to be out of there before demolition starts.
So we have plenty of time for this. We don't have to approve this tonight.
You don't have to approve it
No,
tonight.
and
I'm
I
not-
will not vote on this, so that's my vote on this tonight. I think we got time to talk about this, discuss it with Brendan. That's just my opinion. You guys want to vote on
I'd
it?
like to hear from Brendan too on it.
We
You want to
did
vote on this,
ask,
then we can vote on it. If not, we can table it off to another meeting.
Can I address Brendan for just a minute? We did talk to Brendan. He couldn't come tonight.
I know that. I read the
because
email.
Okay, so because he had a meeting.
Yes, he does. He has a meeting. He couldn't make it tonight.
Yes, so.
Yeah, that's what it said.
But he has indicated that this plan would work for his team, and more importantly,
Well, he really
we
didn't
know
say the
that.
plan was going to work for his team. He'd approved Section 2, but he'd rather not have it there, from what it says. So, I mean, that's what I got out of reading
That-
that. So like I
that's not
said,
what I got
we can
out
go
of it.
back and forth on this all night. I'm not ready to vote on this. If the board's ready to vote on it, that's fine. They can vote. I'll just say no.
What additional information would you require? Because if we're going to come back,
Well, I want to know
would
where the
need-
benches are going to be. I want to know what trees are going to be put in. I want to know what it's going to look like if we do decide to put them on Center Street. I want to get some more input from other people. It's not just us five. This is a town project, just like no any other project. I want to hear from more residents. All I'm hearing is from residents that you said yes. And I can tell you the residents that said no. So, I mean, it's one of those situations where no matter which way we go, we're always in the wrong with somebody. This is the way it works, you know.
That's the way it
It's like-
works on
it's
all
like
of these
your
boards,
board,
right?
Every board's the same way. So no matter which way we go, it's always going to be, someone's going to be like, oh, I hated the idea you voted on this. I love the idea you voted on the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm at right now. I'm, like I said, personally, I am not ready to vote on this tonight, not with everything I've heard so far.
Mr. Chair, can I?
Yeah, I read it.
Point of clarification. So when you say the benches and the trees, you're talking about, Brendan mentioned that they're scheduled to install benches and
Yes.
trees on the common in the spring.
Yes.
So we want it, you kind of want, even if he added it to this map, where those are, just to get more clarity. Is
Well, I don't know where Brendan plans on putting those.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
asking.
yes.
Is that more
Absolutely, Sarah.
information that
Yeah.
that we would want?
Absolutely, sir. And then that one small one, whatever one we need, if we decide on the common for that, the one with the signage that she had brought up earlier, that one that's on the very corner there with
Oh, yeah.
where we're going to talk about painting the other thing. So, like I said, I don't see an issue with tabling this off to another meeting, but right now, I'm not there.
If we are going to table it, I'd love to get people's thoughts on moving 4 of them or even 3 of them over to 61.
Absolutely.
And then we can
That's another option. But if we approve this tonight, that option goes out the window.
No, we could vote that in tonight.
Right, we
If
could.
we wanted to. It's the will of the board. But I mean, again, if we want to table it, postpone it, whatever you want to call it, we can also get Brendan's thoughts on having a couple over on 61 as well. But I mean, that's an open area. They shouldn't have an issue moving around them.
We have 4 months before we really have to do anything.
I mean, no matter where we put them, Brendan's team has to mow around them. So-
Say anything? I didn't hear you. I'm
No
sorry.
matter where we put them, Brendan's team has to mow around them. So I think
understand that,
Brendan
yeah.
understands that, and I don't know that any one spot is easier than another for him to mow around. And so you, of course, speak with him and get his feedback.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, sir.
If the issue is coordination with the recreation, isn't a solution to say that in concept it's okay, but subject to final location with the Recreation Committee and Brendan's location of the...
I'm just not, I would like to talk to Brendan myself and go from that point on. That's what I would like to do. Anything else? Anybody?
I'd like to hear what Brendan would think of putting a few at 61.
Yep. Okay. So do I have a motion to approve this or to table it?
I mean, I'm fine to vote right now if folks want to. I mean, if you guys
You
want
guys
to
vote,
vote, that's fine too. I mean,
Whatever you think, whatever you get, you're the board, so whatever you prefer to do.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone this until our next meeting on the 24th.
Do I have a second on that? No second. Okay? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve option 2 of the temporary relocation of the sculptures from the sculpture park to the common. I'll just leave it at that.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Discussion?
Yep.
Okay. Would you be willing to amend that to leave the opportunity for 61 to be on the table for discussion, meaning we're approving in concept, but that there's an opportunity to move a couple over there?
We
You'd
have
be
no
fine with
problem
that?
We're fine with it. We also, I think, would be fine with, if I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
To say that, the motion would say that the final location and timing of those installations would be subject to review with the Recreation Committee.
That's fine. I'll be voting no, so whatever you guys want to do, go ahead.
Okay, so how do I say that? Those are two things, right?
Good luck.
Yeah, so that we're approving 2 in concept with the opportunity to move move sculptures to 61 as, I guess, decided, and then that it's contingent upon confirming with Recreation.
Okay, do I have to do that, or does that suffice for the amendment?
That's
Suffice,
fine.
Paul?
Well, like I say, if it's a little tricky to approve it and then say that this, what's the opportunity to move them down to 61? I know they said that they're open to discussing it, but.
May I make a
it's little bit,
suggestion?
Not very definitive as to what the path forward would be from there.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion?
You're approving to go to the common.
Then I would vote no.
Can I make a suggestion?
Or we could just table it to the next meeting.
May I make a suggestion? What if you made a motion to approve the placement of 6 sculptures on the common to be agreed upon with Recreation and 3 sculptures in front of 61 Center Street to be agreed upon with Recreation?
I don't see what the hurry is. I mean, what's 2 weeks?
Well, I thought you were
Okay.
trying to figure this out, so if
don't-
you want to wait, you can wait.
It's 2 weeks. We're not doing this till July. I don't, whatever.
I guess the motion may have been made and seconded, I don't know, and potentially amended if that, if you're what you said.
That amendment didn't work,
I
right?
don't think
Well,
that's
the board would have to
sufficient.
vote to make it.
Okay, so let's vote on that. Does the amendment work for everybody? Yes or no? Just a quick show of hands or whatever. No, it doesn't.
I think the more that we talk about this, I'm glad that we're discussing it, the more I think we should just wait the 2 weeks, get clarity on the move to 61, and.
So we have to vote on her
Well,
amendment,
She can withdraw her.
or you can withdraw it.
I can withdraw a motion that's been made and seconded.
Can we withdraw a motion that's made and seconded?
I believe so, yes.
I looked at him, and he looked directly at you,
we can
so
vote
that's
on
where
it.
I was going with that.
We can vote on it for kicks and just
Say
you know,
no.
vote it no and then move on. I mean, that's fine.
Okay, all those in favor of Sarah's motion? Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Abstained? 5-0 against it.
Okay.
Formality.
So then, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we postpone this until our next meeting, February 24th. I don't know if there's a time certain that matters.
Second.
Motion made and second. All those in favor? to
Aye.
table it? Aye. There you go.
All right.
Thank you.
Let's talk about it then.
Yes.
Some more answers.
So, Mr. Chair, there was another item that I was coming before you tonight, and this is not something I'm looking for a vote on, it's just sort of a heads up. As you know, the public,
I thought we were going to look at something on the screen again. I thought you looked over there, and I was like,
No.
where is it?
no, there's nothing on the screen. There's nothing on the screen. So, as you know, we changed our name to the Public Arts Committee, and part of the reason for that is because we want to do things besides sculpture, things like murals, things like community-created artwork. And one of the first things we'd like to do is work to get some of the electrical boxes that are on municipal property painted. You've seen these all around. They're all around 3rd Avenue. They've been painted. They're in Lexington. They're in Arlington. Many other communities have done this. And it's an inexpensive way to bring some fun and whimsy into the public space. Because we are the committee we are and we don't have money, we can't afford to hire artists, professional artists, to do this. But The Council on Aging art class did a fabulous job on their pig. It was one of the best ones. So we reached out to them and asked them if they would be interested in painting some of those electrical boxes that are on municipal property, and they said yes. So this is not a plan. I don't have the actual location of the boxes. We don't have a plan for you. I just sort of wanted to let you know this is something we're thinking about and working on, and get some feedback from you before we go too far down that path.
Yes,
I
sir.
do have one question. Do we have to notify the utility that provides service to that box?
I imagine we probably do. I haven't, this is
They have a
very early
program-
stages.
They have a program that allows that,
Yeah.
either shrink wrapping, you can do either shrink wrap it, you have the work done and then it's shrunk on the thing, or you could paint them.
Okay.
But you do notify them.
Brian White was going to track down some information from other communities in terms of what policies and procedures they have for it, so.
Okay.
So again, it's very preliminary. I just thought it would be a good idea to get your feedback, because if this is not something that you favor, we're not going to waste a whole lot of time investigating it.
Yeah. I mean, yes, I am in favor. I have a ton of questions, shrink wrapping versus painting, painting, how's it protected, all that stuff. I think using the seniors, if there are enough boxes involving the high school kids, right? Having all the artwork approved ahead of time.
Of course.
I think is fantastic. I've seen it done in a ton of communities, it's not in your face, but it's a nice little, oh, look at that, right? And it enlivens the area, like you said. So at the jump in concept, I'm in favor.
Okay.
But like I said, as you do the homework.
The devil's in the
I'll have to
details.
show you.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Sarah?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm fully in favor of this, but yeah, all the logistics, I know this is in the early stages. I did just want to ask, as the Public Arts Committee, do you have, or have you started any kind of like list or database of local artists, like within Burlington, that you can reach out to or connect with? Because I've had a local artist reach out to me and say, hey, can I paint a mural at this place? And I'm like, well, okay, I don't know about that, but
Send them
they're
to
out
me.
there. They're out there, yeah, and they want to,
Yes.
make their community brighter and better, so.
Yes. Actually, I have a meeting tomorrow with Catherine Lecomte, who is the curator of the Mobile Art Gallery, and that's one of the things on our agenda, is to talk about how we can
That's right.
connect with other local artists like her to enhance our program, but I don't really have a list right now. Anyone you've talked to, please send them my way.
Will do. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you.
Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I'm in favor of the concept. The devil is in the details, as long as we get, nothing offensive.
Yeah.
Everything approved beforehand, and we
course.
could see some examples, maybe. But generally, yeah, it sounds like a cool idea.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I'm on board. So I think that Nick had a good idea with the seniors and the kids, and if we can get local artists, I didn't realize, I know we do have a couple.
There's got to be local artists in town.
In town, trying to figure out what do we do? Do we do it, make it a Burlington thing? Is it an outdoorsy thing? Is it the skyline? Who knows? Who knows what it's going to be? You know what I mean?
Yes, I think
So-
the artists will definitely come up with some
Yeah.
different things, and then we'll be able to look them over when we get to that stage
Absolutely.
and see what we prefer. Just so you know, I did reach out to the high school art department. They were not able to fit that into their curriculum.
Good, excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What about Shawshene? We have a lot of kids that go from Burlington to Shawshene. They have an art program up there, too.
Do they?
Yeah.
Great, I didn't know that. I'll reach
Well, I
out to
guess
them.
Even not even in the curriculum, but if high school juniors and seniors wanted to participate and submit stuff, right? I mean.
Oh, yes,
work with
they'd be
George
most welcome to do that.
Do that, it'd be great.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Private school kids that live in town.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you for your
thank you.
time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and we have to go backwards.
We do.
We do, right?
Yeah.
Why do I have so many papers in front of me tonight? We're going back to government review. Mr. Sagretti.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What you had in your packet was provided to us from Collins Center, who's a consultant on the project. They gave us some samples of mission statements from other government review committees and other communities. We also put out in front of you tonight, Nick was kind enough to type up his version of a good first pass, and Sarah also provided us with a red line version with her grammar teacher touches to it.
Thank you, Sarah.
So I think between the two of them, I think they gave us a really good head start there in terms of providing a mission statement. John and I met with the Collins Center folks, and we were able to determine that the time commitment for this committee going forward would probably meet twice a month with the chair of the committee maybe being involved in an additional meeting each of those weeks. They gave us a lot of great suggestions as to where to advertise for the types of numbers that you're looking for this committee, including utilizing school, different school, what do they call them, newsletters, bulletins, reverse 911, in different ways. We want to try to get the word out there to different parts of the community so we don't end up with, and we have a lot of interest from folks that are on boards and committees, but I think we also want to balance that out with people that really have, different types of experience, whether it's corporate or otherwise. So I think if we can get a mission statement started with the board, and then we can move forward putting together an advertisement and getting the word out into the community, and hopefully get a committee put together at some point at one of our March meetings.
Okay, thank you. Let's start with Nick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, so as I was reviewing the backup, the multitude of examples quickly started to become overwhelming, right? I was like, oh, there's a lot here, and they all kind of say it in a different way, and they all kind of tackle the approach. And so I just started to pull stuff into a document, and then I was like, well, I'm already halfway there. I'll just keep going. And, I figured it'd be more helpful for us to kind of look at that as a foundation point. Sarah, thank you for going through it. I appreciate that.
Okay, so just a point of clarity, that came from you?
This came from me.
Okay, I don't know where, Lynn sent it, and I'm like, okay, I get this is what we're working with.
They founded it to the
I
drive.
didn't know, okay.
I used
Sorry.
the drive as a
I
tool.
butchered it.
No. So I didn't self-edit. I just wrote it and was like, nah, it's good enough, and sent it. Because I knew that we'd be talking about it anyways, and that it was just basically a conversation starter, right?
Got it.
So, seriously, thank you. I think, what I was trying to do was think about, what the charge of the mission needed to be, and kind of some of the goals and the spaces for opportunity that we had, and then, seeing all the other things that, the various backgrounds, the way that other folks have put things together. I wanted to make sure that we kind of captured everything. So it just kept rolling as I was going with it. But, I think what we've talked about, and John even offered a suggestion to kind of make sure that this stays fairly broad, was to not call it a charter review committee or charter committee, but to say something like a town governance committee. Because again, the committee might say, well, geez, a charter might not be the best direction for us to go, but we'll keep it a special act and we'll do X, Y, Z. But again, I think that we want to kind of have this committee bring stuff together, codify everything. If that means in a singular document, then great. That's how I think it should be. I think that it would be easier for folks, and I think the charter provides that overarching opportunity, not just for elected people, but for residents as well, who are looking to understand how our town government, functions and how it works. But yeah, I'm not going to read it, but again, the overall charge of the mission was to, really task the committee with, looking to codify existing best practices, and then look for additional best practices to be adopted, outdated methodologies and structures to be, stricken, potential conflicts with current statutes and regulations, and make sure that we're inclusive of gender neutrality, identify any inefficiencies, conflicts within our special acts and our bylaws, and any other changes that might be deemed necessary. And then in the bulleted list, I kind of called out, some of those things, right? Including, because I felt like, it's been a large topic of conversation over the last 5 years, is, this consideration of shifting from a town administrator to town manager form of leadership, right? I had the opportunity this morning to chat with Nikki for the Burlington Buzz. And, one of the questions that, was asked was, what other communities do you often look at as inspiration for, or that kind of we model Burlington after? I said, I wouldn't pick one, right? I think Burlington has become fairly unique over, it's, just call it the 55 years from, when our special acts were kind of enacted to now. We've kind of been at the forefront of a lot of things. And in that uniqueness, I think, is where we're going to find why this charter is important. So, I guess for the board's discussion, and not because I'm going to keep talking, I put this together. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Sarah?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Nick, for putting this together. I didn't know where it came from, but I was appreciative of it. Because I agree with you, looking at all the different charges from all the different towns and communities, it was a lot of the same, said in different ways, and I think you were able to, pull the relevant pieces together and put something together that we can work with, and I did. That was the English major in me coming out with a red pen. So I appreciate it. I think I didn't do much to change the content, really. The only thing I did was, in the last sentence of the first paragraph about special acts adopted by the community, that was just a little vague to me. I didn't know what it was, I had to look it up. I didn't know what special acts it was referring to, but I guess it's the institution of the representative town meeting, also the position of town administrator, that kind of thing. So other than that, my changes are pretty, cosmetic. But yeah, so I appreciate that. The only thing I was wondering is, in a lot of the charges, there was a section for membership and talking about having representation from certain boards in town. And I don't know if that's something that we want to, well, I think it's something that we should talk about. I don't know if it's something that we want to do. We have, one select board member, one planning member, or if we just want to leave it more open.
Yeah, I intentionally left that off because I knew there was going to be a big, that's one thing that this board always discusses, I think, at length, is the who behind the what. So I agree. I think that we should discuss it. I think it's important.
My opinion is that we should have somebody from the select board. And I would volunteer to be that person, but it's up to you all. But as for the other boards, I don't have super strong opinions. It might be good to have somebody from the General Bylaw Review Committee, just because they're so in the weeds with the bylaws and, might be able to identify overlap or, things like that. So that was the only thing I had, is just to, if we want to be more specific about membership. I think we said 7 to 9 members. But as to who those people are. And then also just, the advertising, I appreciate that Paul and John had discussions about how to do that and get the outreach out there. We've already had a couple people send in their interest, so that's good, and hopefully we'll get more. But nothing else to add.
So before I turn to another member of the board, were you saying that you wanted to be on that committee?
I would volunteer, yes.
Okay. Okay, just making sure, because you were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if anybody else, wants to fight me on it, go for it.
I think Nick would fight. I think you and Nick would be great on it. Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So are we voting to approve the mission statement tonight?
We're looking for input on the mission statement. We can also, once we get that input, bring this draft back to the Commons Center and have Anthony or Patricia take a look at it and offer some suggestions. Maybe get that voted by the next meeting, and from that document, sort of prepare some sort of written advertisement for the board to review at that time too, and then we can set some sort of how many days we want to go advertising it before we have a meeting to discuss, who's going to be a member of that committee.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. It says vote to approve, that's why I was,
Yeah.
I'm just not ready to vote it tonight, so. Just want to make sure we weren't voting. It said it, but
I know.
that's all.
I was the same. I was going to do the same thing, but having you people here, I don't have to say a lot anymore. It's kind of good for you guys. Michael?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I happened to be looking in the folder, and I saw the Nick Priest Doctrine, and I really liked it.
Call it that.
And I like it even better after Sarah's edits. So this is a great start. Thank you, guys and gal. The couple of things I just wanted to add, one thing maybe I want to look at is our town charter and government is pretty antiquated. And I want to see if they could kind of take a look at what we do vis-a-vis through a lens of how life has evolved now. And what I mean by that is digitally, how we do things in a digital world with emails and hybrid meetings, and if we're just up to snuff on being the most, doing things like say, doing things, and this is a bad example because I'm thinking of prescriptions, but instead of faxing, we're emailing or whatever it is, just for them to take a look at how technology has affected life since we last looked at government. Maybe, I don't know how we put that in there. And also another thing I had written down was, I know the Collins Center did the communication review for us, but if they could also maybe just add in a little section of looking at how we communicate out to the residents and what we could do to be more effective. I know they've already done that, so they just want to add in their findings before anything we can do to look at all aspects. But other than that, I like what we have on the Nick Priest doctrine here as a start. So I'm on board and look forward to the discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So my outtake is that this is very good. I think the discussion needs to be had on all ends. I think we need to put a committee together. I don't know if we start, Paul, do we start here with the committee and then branch out for one of every board member, or what do we do with this?
Yeah, I think you're gonna really wanna spend some time thinking about what type of members you want to constitute that committee. I think it shouldn't be all people that are sitting on boards.
Right.
We really should try to get some outside viewpoints. And, you know, one of the things we hear commonly is that folks want government to work more like a business. So I think that having that aspect on the committee will be extremely, offer a different viewpoint than, you know, sitting board members will. So I would ask the board to contemplate that a little bit. And then maybe that's something we can bring up at the next meeting as well, and just sort of talk about, you know, what type of composition you want to have on this board.
Okay, so would everyone like to just put this off to the next meeting and sit back and just, and kind of figure out, like, all right, 2 selectmen, a planning board member, a couple of people from the public or town meeting or whatever it is, come up with ideas, then we'll come up with how many people do you actually want on the board? I mean, do you want 10, do you want 11, an odd number for voting reasons? Just come up with that scenario, and then we'll go from there. So we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting, and Mr. Espaillo has something he'd like to say.
One more thing I forgot to mention is if they could, I don't know if they do this, but review kind of our hybrid meeting procedures, and if we're doing that right, if there's anything we could be doing better, just new stuff that was never really considered in our charter, just to make sure we're getting encompassing all aspects of the new ways that technology has changed things.
Yeah. Okay. I know Mr. Howling was really big on this, and I'm sure he'd want to jump on this at some point. I mean, I know he's a town meeting representative, but
I would just ask if the board can just provide us direction
Yeah.
of Sarah's red line version, so that we have a starting point, then we can move forward. But at least this as the baseline.
so we'll,
Based on the discussion tonight, I can go into I assume that you edited directly what I put in there?
I didn't, no, I didn't, it's not on the server, no.
Okay.
I can do that.
If you can drop it on the server, I can update based on discussion tonight, and then that can be the one, Paul, that you guys action forward with. So I think, like, action items walking away from this discussion is everyone review the charge and mission to make sure we feel like that's going to be what we feel is the right approach, or if we have any other thoughts on that. But then I just want to bring to everyone's attention, of all the examples, many of them only said of the 7 to 9, 1 or 2 are defined by a role, right? So it was like, we want 1 select board member, we want 1 planning board member, or 1 town meeting member, and then the rest were just kind of open field slots, which I thought wasn't a bad approach. So if we said, hey, we want 9 people, 1 select board, 1 GBRC, and everything else is kind of, you know, it's who's interested in how we think the individual, you know, and their background, you know, brings to the board, or the committee. I think that could be a really interesting approach, rather than try and pull from specified boards, to Paul's point, and kind of keep it open to folks. So just for consideration, I know I would be open to something like that. but that can be for discussion for next meeting. But I will update, given the conversation, and then, through Paul and Lynn, we'll blast it back around for folks to review.
Sorry, I have another question.
Yes, go ahead.
So once everyone takes a look at the red line version and, has any input, is that something that we can run by, the Collins people? And,
Yeah, just respond directly to
Okay.
individually, so we're not all working on the same stuff.
okay.
Yeah, because open meeting law is great like that when it comes to collaborative across digital fields.
Why? Anyway, so would you like us to vote on one of these tonight, or what would you like us?
Just vote on the red line version that was in front of you.
Okay.
Just as sort of a starting point
Okay.
of the mission statement.
All right, so I'll...
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a
Whoa,
motion
geez,
to
wow. Geez, everyone jump on that one.
Sorry.
approve the red line version of the Nick Priest document as a starting point draft for our government review process.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained, 500. Okay, nice job, Nicholas.
And Sarah.
And Sarah, sorry, with the red line version, my bad. All right, 2026 budget guidelines, we're already back at it again. Mr. Sagarino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think John has a quick presentation for the board.
Yep, I dropped the slides in the Google folder so you can see them, and also these are the same slides that I shared with you back January 14th-ish, before we had the budget summit. So Selectman Morandi and Selectman Ismail had the pleasure of coming to the budget summit, so they've heard all this before. You've all heard it, some of it when we set our tax rate, some of it when we started talking about the budget. But I'll go through some slides quickly and get to the point about where the committee, the summit committee, recommended and what's brought for you today. Yeah, usually what we start with, this committee is very familiar with these numbers, as we just talked about them in November a few times when we set our tax rate, but what we usually start the budget summit with is kind of a review of where we ended up for FY25. As you all know, the process takes about a year. It starts around the late fall, where we start talking with departments, we start talking with boards, and we start talking about the next year's budget. That takes us through till May town meeting when it's approved, and then back to the next November when the tax rate is finally approved and kind of closes the door on that. So those are the numbers you're very familiar with. Most spend too much time talking about them. We also start the budget summit by talking about financial indicators, things like free cash, stabilization, and excess levy capacity. And as you can see the screen in front of you, those are the numbers. We had $36.1 million of free cash certified by the DOR last fall. We, at this January town meeting voted to use just under 17 million of that free cash. So we're carrying about 19.4 million into May, and then whatever is used carries. So next year you can see the stabilization balance and our excess capacity. For the millions watching at home, excess capacity is the difference between what we've taxed on the tax levy and what we're allowed to tax on the tax levy. So as you can see, we're significantly under that number. Our budget goals, which we've beaten into the minds of everybody that will listen, is to try to see if we can maintain level services where we can, prioritize infrastructure improvements, be able to adjust for long-term liabilities like OPEB, pension obligation, debt service, things like that. So on the expense side of the budget, what are we looking at? Again, this is just the budget summit. We haven't submitted any budget yet, so this is what our estimates show for this year, what we're trying to do. Accommodated accounts, I think everybody knows what accommodated accounts, but these are the undistributed accounts. These are things that aren't budgeted in each department, but are taken separately because had they been budgeted, each department would would be an accounting nightmare, first of all, but it would also be very hard to track budgets for departments. So our big ticket items in the same budget drivers that we have year after year for our accommodated accounts is health insurance, debt service, Middlesex retirement, OPEB. Some of those go up close to double digits, and they're a big driver in the budget. This year we have a new one, that's town liability insurance. Can't stop having claims for some reason, so we're seeing a little bit bigger than average increase there. And then every year, special ed is the unknown. It's the most volatile of all of our accounts. But that's the reason that it's taken out and put into our accommodated accounts. So we're expected to be around 7%. That's where we're starting. Now, it's really early in the process. We'll continue to massage that number. Most years, this is around where we start, somewhere between 7 and 8 on a bad year when we had the trash contract, the bus contract, and things like that all coming together at the same time. We started a little higher than that, but we're able to get that down to where we feel comfortable. You can see what the averages were over the last few years. Operating budgets. The drivers in operating budgets is everything. Inflation, stuff just costs more, materials and supplies cost more, and we don't increase those every year. Fuel, water, just like that in your house, costs more to heat your house, costs more to buy water, it costs more to put gas in your car. And then the big one for us is personnel costs. We don't have any contracts going into next year. All of our labor contracts expire at the end of this year. The school does luckily have their year one of 3-year contracts. But we're all going to have to be able to absorb those potential contracts and existing contracts in the budget. You can see what the averages were. And a level service budget is north of 4.5%. This is both for the town and the school. On the revenue side, we have the 3 big pieces for revenues are state aid, local receipts, and the tax levy. State aid typically isn't a huge amount for us. Doesn't make up that great piece of our budget. We're estimating to be, for many years we didn't estimate any increases in state aid. And then there was a formula change a couple of years ago where they changed the way they classify low income. And for Burlington, it was quite a boom. Our Chapter 70 amount went up by a couple $1 million. So that's been great, and that has stayed in the state aid calculation since then, so that's great news. But now we're talking about modest increases of a couple percent. The budget for this year, we're looking at maybe 3%. Local receipts, which has been volatile for everybody because of COVID. That's why when you look at the averages there, it seems a little skewed that the 3, 5, and 10-year average could be so different. But that's because that's what COVID hit the most, the local receipts. You may remember when we came in September of 2020, we came and we decreased our local receipts revenue budget by $2 million and also decreased our operating budget by $2 million. Well, we're finally back. We finally made up that difference, and our local receipts, for the most part, are doing quite well and have recovered. Things like the hotel and meals tax fully recovered. The big winner for us has been investment income. The rates have been great. We both, as a best practice, we budget a very modest amount for investment income. You never know. And when the rates are as high as they were, and you're investing in cash properly, you can really knock it out of the park there. One that we conservatively budget is building permits, something that we've crept up that budget to it's probably 150% of what it used to be, to what we consider a light year or what an ordinary year could be for us. Again, as a best practice, you don't want to always budget for the matcher you think you're going to get or whatever you got the year before, because as the peaks and valleys come, you have to be adjusting your budget, and that would be quite a hit on the tax levy. In local receipts, the last couple of years, to make up for that COVID decrease, we've been able to increase this budget by 10% each year. So that's great. And now that we're past that, you may remember we were using some opera money to offset this $500,000 a year for 3 years. That's gone now. So. And then the rest goes on the tax levy. So we have, this group, Ways and Means, we've created a target of our growth on our tax levy to try to be within about 4.5% to 5.5%, especially when we start this process, because again, we don't want to always be on the high side of that, but we are conservative when we start the budgeting process. We haven't finalized some of the operating accounts, especially in accommodated. So that's our target range. You'll see the 3, 5, and 10-year average are on the lower side of our target. The final one is just sort of a snapshot of scenarios. What does it look like if our accommodated we know is going to be around 7%? We're going to work hard to get it lower than that, but at the moment, that's about what it looks like. And then what at different levels of the operating budgets, that's that second column, what does that look like for an increase on the levy? And more importantly, what is the increase, percent increase on the tax levy? So you'll see all of those different options there still get within that same range we're shooting for. A tax levy increase between 4.5% and 5.5%. And then the last slide is what the recommendation of that committee was to move forward with authorizing school in town operating budget increases of about 4.5%. Mr. Morandi and Mr. Spayo all can add that the room seemed okay with that. There wasn't a ton of pushback. I mean, I think people know that we're going to hopefully, we're looking at an estimated levy increase within that target, but on the upper side of that target, whatever we can come down in the increase in accommodated, it's going to help slide that further to the lower end of the target or the mid-range. So without burying the lead, that's what we came out of, was a 4.5% increase to both school and town operating budgets, and that's what we've been working from as we prepare. At your next meeting, you'll start to see your first group of department heads here in front of you for approval of their budgets, and you'll be able to get them on the 19th. So they'll be, either they're going to be binders or those using electronic. They'll be available in a week or so. So I know I went fast, so happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from anybody? No?
Just a comment?
Comment?
Yeah.
No. Oh, go ahead, I'm just kidding.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I always find this budget summit thing interesting. I had the first experience with it last year. I think only the chair and vice chair goes. But last year, someone was out sick, so I sat in, and it's the start of our budget season, and where we begin the everyone coming in with their budgets. And it's always an interesting kind of, as I've learned our role here on the select board, how the whole budgeting process works. It's like the unofficial, official kickoff. So thank you for all of your work on that. It's very interesting to watch the process from start to end, start to finish. One thing I did want to share with the board in that meeting, and I guess I have to do it, I wanted to share it with everyone, but I guess I had to wait till we're in a public meeting. And it was brought up by a Ways and Means member, Ed Parsons. He said that we should think about maybe having a capital project budget summit where we get all the parties in the room once a year, like we do for the budget, to kind of better plan out our capital projects and our capital spending, and dovetailing into what we just talked about, the Collins Center. Maybe there's something the Collins Center can help us look at. How do we do that more effective? How can we be more effective at that? And I think that was an awesome idea from Ed in the meeting, and I wanted to share it with the rest of the board. I think it's a great idea, and I'd love to see us kind of start something like that to get us more laser focused on budgeting for capital projects. Just a thought I did want to share with everyone. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments?
Just want to say, I think that's a great idea as well, because as you can see in recent years, we've had DPW, rec building, police, fire, all coming within like a 10-year period. And we really need to look at the future and space these out, not even counting the 2 schools. So we need to start that process and spreading them out so that we can do them in a more timely fashion.
Thank you.
I'll just add that I've heard that suggestion from somebody in the planning department, that would be a good thing to work on moving forward. So something that is being thought about widely, and I think we should definitely look into it.
Okay. No, nothing?
Nothing to add, no.
Thank you, Mr. Denizio. Let's go to the minutes. Regular meeting. Would someone like to approve both of them at the same time?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the minutes from our meeting, January 13th, 2025, and January 27th, 2025.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. 5-0-0. Subcommittee reports. Mr. Priest.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight, I'll only be speaking about People Helping People and their annual wine tasting charity auction. It is coming up fast. It's coming up Sunday, February 23rd from 2 to 5 p.m. There are limited tables available, so if folks are interested in going, my wife and I have attended in years prior. It's a fantastic event. What?
Nothing.
Oh. You're just agreeing?
Yeah, I'm agreeing with you, yeah. It's a great event.
It is. It's a fantastic event. It's a wonderful time. Obviously, all in the name of supporting People Helping People, which, as we've talked about tonight, is another fantastic organization within the community of helpers that we have. So that is all for me this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim?
Mr. Chairman, I have nothing this evening.
Oh, okay. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to share an email we received from Paul, something from an email we received from Paul, just expressing thanks to the police department. He received a call from a resident who expressed immense gratitude for the police in response to a medical issue that he was having at his house. The fire department was working on him. One of the police officers took the man's 4-year-old grandson into a separate room and played cards with him, so he didn't have to witness what was going on with the situation with the, the emergency response. So I just want to, thank the police department again for going above and beyond. Always thinking of going the extra mile for our residents, and it's just another example, along with the promotions we saw today, of the fine work they do, and that it doesn't go unnoticed, and it is always appreciated. So just another thank you to them, and that's all I had, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Sarah?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. A couple of things. For Council on Aging, right now, starting now and going in, I know we're heading into tax season, they have a tax specialist on hand to help with any seniors in town who might need help. As long as your taxes are fairly simple, nothing like super duper complicated, but that is a service that we provide at Council on Aging. You can call them and set up an appointment, and they have somebody on hand who can help anybody with their taxes. For Board of Health, the Burlington Community Health Fair is happening Saturday, April 26th. I know that's a little ways away, but they are looking for exhibitors who might be interested in having a booth or a table. So if you are a local sort of health-conscious business or organization, you could reach out to the Board of Health and have a table at our community health fair. And then the last thing is on this Wednesday, February 12th, 6:30 p.m. in the BHS auditorium. Nobody mentioned this, right? Sorry, I was.
No.
Okay.
Thank you for mentioning it.
There is a community forum discussing the plans for the high school building project moving forward. So this is kind of a hot topic in town. I don't know if anybody has been hearing a little bit of noise maybe on social media about this. So there's a lot of info being passed around. This is an opportunity for folks in town to go to the auditorium, learn about facts around the project, the possible plans that they've, this committee has been working on this for over a year. I believe. They've had many, many meetings, and they've narrowed it down to essentially 3 different plans. There's 5, but 2 of them are basically the same, just tweaked a little bit. So they've narrowed it down from over a dozen, I think, options down to these 3, and they're very, very different options. And with, all of them have very, long-range implications on, not just the high school community, not just the surrounding neighbors, but the community at large. So it's really important, and they're really seeking out the feedback of the community to help them, shape this project moving forward. And it's going to be the biggest project our town has ever funded. So it's a big deal, and I just encourage everyone to attend that event. So like I said, Wednesday, February 12th, 6:30 p.m. at the BHS auditorium. They are also having tours of the facility starting at 5:30, and they're going to be student-led. So students will take you around and tour the school and the current conditions, so you can see why this is a necessary project. And that is all for now. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I have nothing, so Mr. Severino, Administrator?
I have nothing to
Okay,
say, Mr. Chairman.
so with that, I will take a motion to say goodnight,
Motion to
Burlington.
adjourn.
Motion's been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No one ever opposes this one. Meeting adjourned.